Really, guys? This is the biggest bomb of Disney's history? What is wrong with people? How is this Disney's biggest bomb? How? Someone please explain to me, because I cannot fathom it. Because this movie is great. It's just as great as Isaiah said it was going to be. Seriously, biggest Disney bomb ever? Really? This is good! This is great, even! It was better than the last two we looked at by a mile. I'm shocked. Now I'm kicking myself for not seeing it sooner. Wow, what a great movie we have today, guys. What's up? What's happening? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Animation Station. I'm Sister for anything and everything animation. I just saw the underrated, freaking awesome classic that is Treasure Planet. Wow, I was not ready for this. It's creative, it's unique, it's funny, it's adventurous, it's heartfelt, has great characters, great writing, gorgeous animation when it's not CGI. It's the one and only thing I have against this movie. The CGI is a bit meh. But outside of that, this movie's freaking great! Why do you people hate this? How? Let's just get to the written plot and get to the freaking plot. Oh my goodness, how? Jim Hawkins is secretly reading the story of the notorious Captain Flint, the treasurer of the legendary Treasure Planet. Well, the creator, whatever. Past his bedtime. Sarah, Jim's mom, bursts in, emphasizing that she thought he had fallen asleep an hour ago. And they listen to the rest of it, and it's literally the opening narration of the movie. And it's really good opening narration of that. 12 years later, Jim still believes in the stories of Treasure Planet and has become quite a troublemaker, rebel, and hoodlum in the eyes of other people, with a hobby for solar surfing, a combination of sky surfing and windsurfing on a rocket-powered board with a solar sail. One of the coolest freaking things Disney's invented in years. In this case, he happened to be surfing in a restricted construction area where he got caught by cops. He is escorted to the Ben Bow, an inn run by Jim's mom, much to his mother's disappointment, and retires to the inn's roof, where he overhears Sarah venting her frustration with Jim's behavior to the family's canine friend, Dr. Delbert Doppler. That night, a spaceship crash lands on the port outside the inn, and an old, injured salamander-like being clambers out. His name is Billy Bones. Jim helps him inside, and the aliens hand him a mysterious sphere, warning him to beware the cyborg in his last breaths. Bones soon dies, and suddenly a bunch of marauding pilots ambush the inn, burning it to the ground whilst trying to get the sphere. Sorry, I can't talk today. Jim, his mother, and Doppler manage to escape along with the orb, which later turns out to be a holographic map, showing the way to the one and only Treasure Planet, where Flint has kept his treasure. Jim and Doppler soon set off on Montresor Spaceport, represented as the crescent moon in Montresor's sky. Yeah, the moon's the literal freaking skyport. That's so freaking cool! Where the Doctor has commissioned a ship called the RLS Legacy, complete with a crew to take them on this one heck of a voyage. The ship is captained by the feisty feminine feline Captain Amelia, along with her first mate, the strong and stone-willed Mr. Arrow. And he's literally a stone golem. The crew is an odd-looking suspicious bunch, or as Amelia described them, a ludicrous parcel of driveling galoots, who are secretly led by John Silver, the ship's cook. He trains Jim as a cabin boy and owns a cute cosmic pink blob named Morph, who can take the shape of whatever he chooses. Most of the time, though, it's for pranks. Jim remembers Bones' warning and is reluctant in trusting Silver, who is in fact a cyborg. Despite first impressions and mistrust, a strong and caring bond develops between the two of them, and Jim beginning to see Silver as a father figure, as he remembers his own father's neglect and eventual abandonment of him and his mother. Yeah, I relate to Jim here, being one of those people that had to grow up without a dad. One member of the treacherous spider-like alien Scroop senses a weakness in Silver, and after an encounter with a black hole caused by a star-going supernova during their voyage, Scroop cuts Arrow's lifeline to show his impatience and willingness to attack. Arrow falls to his death in the singularity of the black hole. Jim, who was fastening the lifelines at the time, blames himself for Arrow's death, even though it's not at all his fault, but that's besides the point, until Silver comforts him before sending him to bed, while worrying that his crew might think he's gone soft. It's one of those stories where it's this hard-edged guy that's supposed to be tough as nails, developing a relationship with another person, and the crew starts thinking that this person is not strong enough to be their leader, and in actuality is a softie. It's one of those stories. It's nothing new, but it's a really good story. I love the relationship between Silver and Hawkins. It's such a great, son-father relationship. The next morning, Morph goes to play with Jim, who manages to playfully chase him down a barrel of purple fruit when Morph steals his boot. Suddenly, the crew members come in and Jim overhears Silver rallying them, crushing Jim's trust when he realizes that Silver is the lead mutineer. It isn't long before Silver manages to find Jim out, and the pirates finally sabotage the ship and mutiny, forcing Jim, Doppler, and Amelia to abandon deck and accidentally leave the map on board after Morph plays another trick on them, yet again. The trio's longboat is shot down with a plasma cannon by one of the mutineers, and they crash land onto Treasure Planet during their escape. Amelia is badly injured and needs a place to rest. Whilst exploring the forests of Treasure Planet, Jim meets Ben, bioelectrical navigator. The one and only character I will say I don't like in this movie. And simply because it feels like he belongs in an entirely different movie. Just a personal opinion thing. A whimsical robot driven mad by 100 years of isolation who claims to have lost much of his memory due to his memory chip being removed. Nevertheless, he provides them with a place to stay where Doppler cares for the wounded captain, and the two start slowly falling in love with each other. It's actually pretty cute, even if it is very minimal. However, the maniacal pirates corner the group from outside and Silver attempts to bargain with Jim for the map, which Jim rejects after being, having his trust crushed right in front of him. Using a secret passage, Jim, Morph, and Ben hijack a longboat to fly back to their ship, where Scroop is keeping guard in an attempt to retrieve the map. Unfortunately, after Ben encounters some trouble with the onboard electrics while trying to disable the laser cannons, Scroop becomes aware of the trio's presence and instantly attacks. Meanwhile, Ben accidentally disables the artificial gravity system, causing them all to float upwards into space. Luckily, Jim manages to grab the ship's mast, where Scroop gets horribly tangled in the pirate's flag. As he tries to free himself, the flag is severed from the mast and Scroop floats away into space to his death. Meaning he gets to suffer the same fate that he gave the captain. The previous captain. The map is then found and the group return to their hideout, only to be captured by Silver and his gang, who had already tied up Doppler and Amelia. Again. Jim is forced to use the map to lead the pirates to where Flint's treasure is stored. As it transpires, the map is also a key to a vast portal that can lead to any place in the universe, including the center of Treasure Planet, where the loot is. Yeah, in other words, to try and explain it, this spherical holographic map orb is a doorway to a bunch of other planets, also showing and explaining how Captain Flint was able to ransack and then disappear without a trace before anyone even sees him. Because he can literally use this orb to transfer himself to other planets and other systems instantaneously, faster than any ship can. That's crazy. That is cool. While the pirates occupy themselves in hoarding all the treasure, Jim finds Ben's memory circuit in the hand of Captain Flint's skeleton, and upon getting his memory restored, Ben remembers that Flint had rigged the planet to blow up should anyone come for his treasure. In other words, the red tripwire thing you saw them cross right before they start going into the treasure itself. Jim tells the robot to help Delbert and the captain while he hotwires the late Flint's ship. Silver, seeing the planet and the treasure not far from being blown up, boards the now working treasure-filled ship to leave with some loot, but Jim stops him at sword point, before either can react to the other. Both Silver and Jim are thrown off balance by a heavy explosion, and Silver manages to grab onto the end of the ship, but Jim is left dangling off the edge of a cliff, where there's a giant chasm that literally incinerates you instantly when you touch it. Think like the fires of hell scene from Hunchback of Notre Dame, where if you fall down there, you're instantly incinerated. You're dead. You're done. That's the stake here. Forced to choose between his treasure and his surrogate son, Silver abandons the ship and saves Jim just in time, where Flint's ship is destroyed by the planet's self-destruct laser. The two race back to Captain Amelia's ship, the Legacy, and attempt to leave the exploding planet. However, one of the rocket thrusters is badly damaged, and his ship does not have enough power to leave the planet's atmosphere. Jim, remembering the portal, convinces the crew to turn towards it so he can shift their course to take them back to Montresor. That way, to still escape the planet's destruction. A reluctant Amelia instructs Dr. Doppler to follow Jim's orders, and making a makeshift solar surfer from scrap metal and a spare rocket thruster with the help of Silver, Jim races towards the portal. However, the thruster loses power seconds before he can reach it. In a desperate attempt, Jim scrapes the thruster against the cliff's edge to spark a last bit of energy from it and change the portal's destination to the Montresor spaceport, allowing them to escape out to Montresor just in time before Treasure Planet blows itself up. As the crew celebrates his success, Jim finds Silver, who's trying to sneak off the ship to avoid hanging or incarceration for part in his mutiny, and just piracy in general. Although Jim has a chance to blow the whistle on the rogue sailor, he instead allows him safe passage off the ship. In return, Silver gives Jim Morph to look after, with the instruction that Morph keep an eye on Jim for him and reminds him of his potential for greatness. After a quick embrace, the two part company, but not before Silver throws some of the treasure he salvaged to Jim, so the Ben Bow can be rebuilt. Jim returns home to his mother, and sometime later the Ben Bow is grandly rebuilt. A party is thrown to celebrate the opening, which a lot of customers and families and friends attend. Doppler and Amelia are now married and the proud parents of 4 children. Ben has taken up a job in the kitchen, and Jim has joined the Royal Interstellar Academy following a recommendation by Amelia. Breaking away from the dancing for a moment, Jim looks out the window and remembers Silver, confident that the pirate's words about him were true. An image of Silver in the clouds of the night sky shines down on Jim, and that's the end of the movie. It is quite the adventure, to say the very least. It's fun, it's fast-paced, it has great emotional moments, great characters, superb animation. Even though, again, like I said, my one big knock against this movie is the overuse of CGI. They could have definitely found some way to do that in 2D animation, but I digress. It's a personal thing. And I love the action. I love the ending. I love the whole father-son relationship with Silver and Jim. It's just a really good story, man. I don't know what else you want me to say. It's really good, and it does a great job being a unique differentiation from the original Robert Louis Stevenson source material Treasure Island that it's very clearly taking inspiration from. And speaking of inspiration, wow, these designs, they went all out nuts with the designs here. Think something like Atlantis the Lost Empire, but it's actually done correctly. And then you have all these different monster designs. Some of them are really cool. Yes, there's the one annoying fart monster, but he's gone pretty soon, so he's just kind of there, and he's not really that essential. And he's only in a few scenes, so I can't really knock the movie against that one character, when it's not even a major character, and he's kind of just there for the sake of a joke. It's a dumb joke, but I can buy into it. So, yeah, great designs, great animation, great story, great characters, great writing. Let's get to our voice cast. So, first up we have Joseph Gordon-Levitt as the voice of Jim. Yes, that Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He does a great job in this role. Yes, this character has been done before, sure, but he still does a great job. I'm really quite satisfied with his performance. He did a really good job. Brian Murray as John Silver is fantastic, arguably the best in the movie. David Hyde Pierce as Delbert Doppler is a delight. He's incompetent, but he's just such a delightful character. Then another name you might recognize in here, Sarah Hawkins is voiced by Laurie Metcalf. Yeah, that's Laurie Metcalf. Then we have Emma Thompson as Captain Amelia. Great. Michael Wincott is the voice of Scroop. He's great. Martin Short is the voice of Ben. He's fine. Not a big fan of him, but he's fine. Danny Davis as Morph is great, even though it's mostly just sound effects. Patrick McGoogan as Billy Bones is really good for the little bit that we get of him in this movie. Then we have Tony Jay as the narrator. He does great. May he rest in peace. Austin Majors as Young Jim is great. Roscoe Lee Brown as Mr. Arrow is great. Corey Burton as Onus, Ethan's dad in a deleted scene, and Adult Jim in a deleted scene are both great. Michael McShane as Hans is great. Jack Angle as Grunig? I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And one of the RoboCops. He's pretty good. Roger Bumpus is back again, this time as Turnbuckle and the other RoboCop, and he does a great job as always. Jane Carr as Mrs. Dunwitty is great. Mickey McGowan as Bird Brain Mary is great. And then Phil Proctor as Blinko and Pirates is also great. Great voice cast. They got some pretty big names in here. Then for the other voices, we have Paul Eiding, Patrick Penny, John Seigan, Jim Ward, Jimmy Suarez, Bob Bergen, Jennifer Darling, Sherry Lynn, Mona Marshall, D. Bradley Baker, Peter Cullen. Yes, he was the voice of Captain Flint. Optimus Prime was the voice of Captain Flint. Let that sink in. And Bill Farmer. Even though for some reason all these names are uncredited. I'm not sure why. Well, it's only 16 minutes. Do we want to talk about production? Nah, let's not. It's way too long, man. Alright, let's talk about the reception. That's, in my opinion, 100% wrong, by the way. So here we go. Treasure Planet received generally positive reviews from film critics. It retains a 69% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Stephen Hunter of the Washington Post gave it 4 out of 5, stating that the film boasts the purest of Disney raptures that unites the generations rather than tearing them apart. Oh, okay, so these are actually mostly positive, okay. Well, I've heard the movie absolutely torn apart, too, so maybe it's one of those mixed receptions kind of thing. I don't know. Leo Rosen of People stated that the film has imagination, humor, plenty, and moves briskly. I agree. And that the animation combining traditional and digital effects is ravishing. I argue it's distracting and the only problem with the movie, but that's just a personal taste thing. Claudia Puig of USA Today said that the film's most noteworthy feature is the artful way it combines the futuristic and the retro. I can agree with that. I do love the combination of the two styles. And went on to say that the film doesn't have the charm of Lilo and Stitch. That's debatable. Nor the dazzling artistry of Spirited Away. That seems harsh. But conclude that Treasure Planet is a capable and diverting holiday season adventure up for the whole family. Holiday season adventure? This must have been released around November or December. Weird. Where are we? Kim Hollis of Box Office Profit stated that there's plenty to recommend the film. Spectacular visuals alone make Treasure Planet a worthwhile watch, though expressing disappointment because she felt that the characters were not all that creatively rendered. I don't know what you mean by that, but if you mean design-wise, then you did not see the same movie. There were also many who criticized the film. Roger Ebert, of the Chicago Sun-Times gave it 2.5 out of 4 stars. While not completely writing off the film, he felt that a more traditional take on the story would have been more exciting and less gimmicky. Andy Klein of Daily Variety Gotham complained about the script, describing it as listless, and remarked, "If only its script were as amusing as its visuals." I'd say it'd be the other way around, but whatever. A.O. Scott of the New York Times described the film as less an act of an homage than a clumsy and cynical bit of piracy, and went on to say that it is not much of a movie at all, and as a brainless, mechanical picture. Yeah, sorry, A.O. Scott, screw you. And Owen Gleiberman of Entertainment Weekly described the film as all cutesy, updated fripperies, and zero momentum. Again, screw you, you're wrong. Despite the positive feedback, the film was a box office disappointment, grossing only $38 million in the United States and Canada and $110 million worldwide. Consequently, Disney's Buena Vista distribution arm reduced its fourth quarter earnings by $47 million within a few days of the film's release. That is a huge bummer, man. Treasure Planet was released in DVD and VHS format in the United States and Canada on April 29th of 2003. The DVD includes behind-the-scenes featurettes, a visual commentary, deleted scenes, teaser, and theatrical trailers, the music video for the song I'm Still Here by John Reznick, and a virtual tour of the RLS legacy. The DVD retained the number one spot on the Billboard's top sales for 2 weeks, and the VHS was number one in sales for 3 weeks. From April to July of 2003, Treasure Planet brought in $64 million in sales. If this would be added in total revenue, Treasure Planet could be considered a moderate success, with total revenues just under $174 million. Disney released a 10th anniversary special edition Blu-ray DVD combo pack on July 30, 2012. Okay, so July was its normal release date, but why did they call it a holiday film? Oh, yeah, because it released before 4th of July. Okay, I get it. I get it now. At first, I didn't understand it. The film was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, but lost to Spirited Away. It was also nominated for a number of Annie Awards. It was ranked number 9 on WatchMojo.com's Top 10 Most Beautifully Animated Movies on August 15th of 2014. Okay. It was announced in 2002 that a sequel titled Treasure Planet 2 was scripted, but was eventually canceled due to the film not being successful in theaters. Real shame, they missed a great one. However, concept art and some details about the plot did surface online. The plot of the film would have focused on Jim Hawkins' enrollment in the Royal Interstellar Academy, and would eventually confront the main antagonist of the film, Ironbeard. Captain Amelia, Dr. Delbert, Captain Silver, and Ben were also going to reappear in the movie, and it would have introduced 3 new characters. Kate, Jim's love interest, Admiral Blake, Kate's father, and as mentioned earlier, Ironbeard, the main antagonist of the film. Ironbeard was to be voiced by Willem Dafoe. He was set to arrive at the recording studio in 30 minutes, only to be told that the film was canceled. Disney! Screw you! How dare you rob us of that? Ironbeard, Willem Dafoe's Ironbeard and a second Treasure Planet would have been freaking amazing, man. How dare you? How dare you rob us of that? How dare you? Several Treasure Planet video games were released in 2002. Disney Interactive released the naval strategy game Treasure Planet Battle at Procyon for the PC in October, while Sony Computer Entertainment America released a Treasure Planet action video game for the PlayStation and PlayStation 2 in November. A series of the games collectively called Disney's Treasure Planet Training Academy were also released in 2002. It was composed of 3 games, Broadside Blast, Treasure Racer, and Ethereum Rescue, and players with all 3 games could unlock a 4th game, Ship Shape. Another game called Treasure Planet was released for the Game Boy Advance in December. Huh. Didn't realize Treasure Planet had that many games. That's crazy. Alright. Now for some trivia, and this one's actually pretty extensive. This is the 4th Disney hand-drawn animated movie to not feature any musical numbers or any characters singing. The first 3 were Black Cauldron, Rescues Down Under, and Atlantis the Lost Empire. As for Black Cauldron and Rescuers, they were cut from this marathon simply because we only have 23 days in before Wish gets here, guys. I had to cut a corner somewhere. I couldn't do like 2 or 3 reviews a day on top of doing 1 or 2 reviews of Legends of Literature. It would have driven me batty. So, yeah, that's still pretty interesting, though. This is the 4th one in a row to not feature music. Is that why it bombed so bad? Because there's no musical numbers and it's not traditional Disney? Come on, guys. A movie's more than its music. The famous song of the original Treasure Island, Dead Man's Chest, is never used in the film. That's a bummer, but it was probably a copyright thing. This is the 3rd Disney film to adapt the story of the novel Treasure Island after the live-action Treasure Island and Muppet Treasure Island. A plush version of Stitch can be seen in Jim's room. That's a cute little Easter egg for those of you paying attention. Sorry, I had something in my eyebrow. Ben can be heard singing Yo-Ho, a Pirate's Life for Me on board the ship, possibly a reference to Pirates of the Caribbean. The letters in the name of the ship, the RLS Legacy, means Robert Louis Stevenson, a direct homage to the author of the original story. that's a cute way to, pay homage to the creator. Doppler at one point references Star Trek's Dr. Leonard Bones McCoy with an utterance of, "Dang it, Jim, I'm an astronomer, not a doctor." That's funny. Treasure Planet is the second Disney animated feature film to be released the same year as the previous one. In 2002's case, the previous feature film was Lilo and Stitch, followed by Moana in 2016 and Encanto in 2021. With having both Treasure Planet and Lilo and Stitch premiered in 2002, it makes the only time in a year Disney has more than a sole film nominated in the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, but both lost to Spirited Away. I mean, it's Studio Ghibli, I can understand that, but at the same time, I feel like Treasure Planet probably deserved it more. Just a personal thing. I haven't seen Spirited Away in years, so that might be different. This is Emma Thompson's first animated film role. The second one was Brave. Interesting. Emma Thompson, David Hyde Pierce, Laurie Metcalf were all in Pixar films together. Pierce was in A Bug's Life with Michael McShane and Jack Angel, while Metcalf was in Toy Story. Also, Emma Thompson was in Cheers. Pierce and Metcalf were in Frasier. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's first animated film and his first voice acting debut. So does Brian Murphy, Michael Wincott, and Brian McGoohan. So there was a good bit of newcomers for this one that were getting big roles. That's crazy. This is the last Disney film to be released widely on VHS and DVD in pan and scan formats, as the next two films, Brother Bear and Home on the Range, which we're skipping because both suck, were released on VHS presented in the widescreen format rather than the pan and scan format. However, the Disney film Chicken Little did have a pan and scan format on VHS, but only as a Disney Movie Club exclusive. Blech. Released the same year as The Count of Monte Cristo, which also starred Michael Wincott. Released the same year as Full Frontal, which was also featuring David Hyde Pierce. Released the same year as Lilo and Stitch, both movies created by Disney. Martin Short recorded his lines as Ben after the release of Jimmy Neutron. I forgot he was in that. Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Martin Short were in The Wind Rises, Tony Jay's last Disney film until Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. Hold on. Sorry, I was getting called for something. Anyhow. This was Patrick McGoogan's final role before retiring from acting. He went out on a bang, if you ask me. So, that's the trivia. That's the reception. That's the acting. That's the cast. That's the story. That's the plot. That's the writing. Overall, I love this movie, and I can't thank Isaiah enough for recommending this one. I am kicking myself for not seeing it sooner. It is a fantastic movie, and it did not deserve to bomb as hard as it did. It is a fantastic movie that more than justifies its existence by being different from the source material, but still being a very loving homage to the source material. Sure, the CGI is a little bit wonky, I can understand that, but this is still the early 2000s when it wasn't perfected yet, so I can't be too harsh on it. As it is with this movie, though, I had a great time. It really surprised me, and I'm glad I finally saw it, because now it's probably going to be at least in my top 15 favorite Disney movies of all time. Thanks, Isaiah. This one's for you. Final verdict is a high 9 out of 10, and a high recommendation. Go see if you haven't already. Ignore the snooty critics. This needs to be seen. Well, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. What's next on the docket? Yes, another first-time watch. Thank you guys for watching. Please go watch this movie for yourself. It deserves your watch and deserves your attention, especially over freaking Marvel. Seriously, don't watch anything in theaters if it's not FNAF. It's not worth it. So, unless you're watching FNAF, don't go see anything in theaters. Watch this movie. It is not even 2 hours long. It's worth your time. And I'll see you guys next time for another first-time watch with Meet the Robinsons.